Hi, this is Mrs. Bullen with your notes for section 1.2. We're going to start by going over the warm-up. Remember that anytime we have an equation, we're always trying to figure out what is the value of that missing number. So this is some number, take away 8 is equal to 7. Well, in order to figure out what that number is, we do the inverse operation. So instead of subtract 8, we would do add 8. And what that does is it cancels it off of this side, and whatever we do to one side of the equation, we have to do to the other. So remember, wherever the equal sign is, that's where the equation is perfectly balanced. So if I add 8 to one side, I have to add 8 to the other side, and then they're equal again. So on this side, we have x. On this side, we have 15, and that's it. This one, there's the number we're trying to solve for. Sorry, the variable we're trying to solve for. And we need to see what's happening to it, plus 12. So we do the opposite, which would be take away 12 on both sides. So I have x is equal to -7. If you have a hard time with integers, I would recommend writing it out. We have 5 positives. We have 12 negatives. And so 5 of them are going to cancel out. So we'll have 7 negatives left over. Okay. This one over here, anytime I have a number touching a letter, it means multiplication. So I want to do the opposite, which would be divide. So I'm going to divide by -4, but I also have to divide by -4 on that side to keep it balanced. So I get x is equal to -5. Remember, a positive divided by a negative is a negative. Whenever I'm multiplying or dividing, if there's only one negative, it sticks to my answer. If I have two negatives, they cancel each other. Question number 4. This one looks like a hard problem, but it's actually pretty easy. This just means x divide by 7. Well, the opposite of division would be multiplication. So I'm just going to times by 7 on both sides. Multiplication times by 7, divide by 7, cancel each other out. They're inverse operations. So we just have the x. And then on this side, 3 times 7 is 21. If you need help with your times table, you can always flip to the back of the workbook, and we have a big multiplication chart on the back for you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and skip the notes for right now. We're going to go ahead and work out some practice problems. So what you're always going to do is kind of like PEMDAS, but backwards. Remember PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. We're going to do that backwards because we're trying to work the problem backwards to find out what the original problem was. So this says some number times by -2 and then add 3 is equal to 9. Well, if I want to get back to find what that original number was, I have to start doing the problem backwards. So the last thing I would have done is add 3. So I'm going to subtract the 3. So we're just working it backwards. Okay. So we usually start with our addition or subtraction. So we're going to go -3, and then we're going to have -2n is equal to 6. Then we're going to do divide by -2. So we get n is equal to -3. So remember, we start by getting rid of what's being added or subtracted, and then we divide or multiply by whatever stuck to the letter. Okay, question number 2. Before we start this problem, we are going to either distribute or combine like terms, okay? So that's what we check for first. This one didn't have either of those, so that's why I just kind of skipped over it. This one, remember, this is where our balance is. So I can combine anything together that's on the right side or anything that's on the left side, but I cannot cross from one side to the other unless I do the inverse. So looking at that side, nothing to do. Looking at that side, I can put the x's together. So if I have 9 x's, take away 6 x's, that equals 3 x's. I copy the 15. Everything else that I'm not changing, I just copy down. That's very important because you want to make sure that everything stays lined up, okay? Then we're going to do what we talked about on the last one. That's the letter I'm trying to find. Well, the times by 3, divide by 3, that's the very, very last thing that I do. I need to get rid of any addition or subtraction first. So I'm going to go -15 on both sides. Well, remember, when my signs are the same, they don't cancel, right? If the negative team scored 12 and then the negative team scored 15 more, altogether, the negative team would have 27 points. Positive team doesn't have any. Then we have equals 3x, and the 15s cancel. And then my very, very last step to get x by itself is to do the opposite of the times by 3. So I do a divide by 3 on both sides. So I get x is equal to -9. It's important that you work keeping everything lined up. Okay, question number 3. We've got a little bit more work to do on this one. So first step would be distribute. So I have 2 minus 2x, 2 times 1, 2 times x. Then I copy the plus 3. It's not being multiplied by the 2 because it's not inside the parentheses. So that's why I just copy it. Equals -8. Remember, this is where my equation balances. So now I need to combine any terms that are alike. Well, this +2 and this +3 can go together. So I'm going to copy down the -2x, but instead of 3, I'm going to say, well, I combine those, so now I have 5. So I'm going to do the opposite of +5 on both sides so that it will cancel. So I have -2x is equal to -13. I divide by 2 on both sides, sorry, -2 on both sides. And so I get x is equal to positive 6.5, or you could leave it 13 over 2. Oops, sorry about that. Question number 4. Always put a box around your answer. Question number 4. This means divide by 5. So I'm going to do the opposite, and I'm going to multiply sides by 5. So I have h plus 6 is equal to 10 minus the 6 on both sides. H is equal to 4. Okay, question number 5. Oh, this is a long one. Okay, first step, distribution. Boop. It's more fun if you make the sound effects as you go. Then we're going to multiply. So 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times -x is -5x. Positive 2 times 3 is positive 6. Positive 2 times -x is -2x. We copy the 14. This is where we're balanced. So I can combine any like terms. I'm going to start with the x's. 5 negatives and 2 negatives make 7 negatives altogether. 15 positives and 6 positives make 21 positives altogether. And these ones don't have an x, and these ones do. So that's why I have to keep them separate. And then equals 14. So I'm going to minus the 21 on both sides. And so I have -7x equals -7. Divide by the -7 on this side. And it actually cancels on both sides, but it makes 1. And so we don't have to write 1x. Okay, but over here, if there's nothing left, if we say 7 goes into 7 evenly, it goes in 1 time. We wouldn't just cancel it out and put 0 because that's not true. We're dividing by 7, it goes in 1 whole time. Okay, and that's your answer for that one. Question number 6, your school's drama club charges $4 per person for admission to a play. The club borrowed $400 to pay for costumes and props. After paying back the loan, the club has a profit of $100. How many people attended? Well, they got $4 per person. They had to pay back their loan of $400, and they were still ahead by $100. So now we need to figure out how many people went to the play. Well, add the 400 on both sides. So we have 4x is equal to 500, divide by 4. So x equals, here's our short division again, 4 goes into 5 1 time with 1 left over. So now we go 4 goes into 10 2 times with 2 left over. 4 goes into 20 5 times. Short division. Super fun, huh? Okay, we didn't even need a calculator for that one. You guys knew all of that stuff. Okay, so we always want to make sure that we give our answer in the context of the problem. The question was how many people? So I would say 125 people. Those are my units. Okay, now we're going to start your assignment. I'm just going to go over the odds with you. You should be able to use the odds to figure out the evens, and then make sure that you get all of the answers into Canvas, and you'll need to take a picture of your work. So make sure that you are showing every step, not just the answer, okay? Because if you just have the answer, that you don't get all the points. What we're teaching you is not how to do 19 minus 4. What we're teaching you is how to show your steps in algebra. Okay, if you start doing it right now, it will pay off in the long run. Pretend like my lines are straight. Sometimes I have a hard time. All my lines end up crooked and my bangs are popping out too. Okay, so I'm going to start by subtracting the 4 on both sides. Remember, there's the letter I'm trying to find. I do whatever is stuck to it very last, so I'm going to try and get rid of any addition and subtraction first. So I have 3x, those ones canceled. 19 take away 4 is 15. Divide by 3 on both sides, so x is equal to 5. Final answer. You guys can do number 2 on your own, add 13 to both sides and divide by 5. Question number 3. Even though this looks like distributing parentheses, it's just subtracting a negative. Well, remember from middle school, if we minus a negative, that's like adding the opposite. Okay, if you think about if you had a cup and of lemonade or whatever, and it had ice cubes in it. If you take away the ice cubes, what's going to happen to the temperature of your lemonade? The temperature is going to go up. Anytime we minus a negative, that's a positive change. I know it seems really weird, but anytime you have minus a negative, it means the same thing as adding, okay? Or like if your friend let you borrow $5 and they said, oh, you don't need to pay me back. They subtracted the loan. So what did you end up with? $5 free, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and do this problem. I'm just gonna rewrite it, you guys. Z plus 9. I write my Z's like that because, or else it kind of looks like a 2. You don't have to do that, but it's kind of fun. All right, last thing we do, here's what the letter we're trying to find. So I look and see what's stuck with it, plus 9. So we're gonna go minus 9 on both sides. So 17 take away 9 is 8. Final answer. You can always take away 10 and then add 1 back on if you ever have a hard time subtracting 9s. All right, question number 4, we're gonna skip, but remember that you're gonna put together any like terms first. Okay, question number 5, I'm gonna get rid of this big whole funky fraction because it just means divide by. So I'm gonna do the opposite, which would be multiply by. So times by 3 on both sides. So Q, and then instead of writing this as plus a negative 5, I'm just gonna write it as minus 5 because it's less confusing when you just have one sign. Adding a negative is the same thing as subtracting, okay? 8 times 3 is 24. And then I'm just gonna go plus 5 on both sides. So Q is equal to 29. We're gonna skip number 6, but you guys could either divide by 4 first and then add the 12, or you could distribute and then do your 2 steps. Either way, have fun. Make sure you show your work and use good algebra skills doing the same thing to both sides and using inverse operations. Question number 7. I'm going to combine my like terms first. So I'm gonna say if I've got 5 z's and I'm taking away 2 of them, I have 3 z's. Minus 4 equals negative 7. So I'm gonna add 4 to both sides. So I have 3z is equal to negative 3. That one canceled. And then I'm gonna divide by 3 on both sides. So I get z is equal to negative 1. So that's the work you guys should have on that one. Make sure you have all the steps. Remember to pause me if I'm going too fast. We're gonna skip number 8, but if you were doing this problem on your own, you would be adding those x's together first, and then you would do the steps the same way that I did this problem. Okay, question number 9. You have a couple choices. We could distribute first and then minus and divide, or if you want to, because this means multiplication and there's nothing else being added or subtracted outside the parentheses, you could divide by 3 on both sides and get rid of that multiply by 3, and it actually gives you fewer steps. So I'm going to minus the 7 on both sides, and I get z is equal to 0. Okay, we don't need to put the 0 on this side because we still have the z there, but if everything subtracts and you're left with nothing, you should write 0 because we still need a value that z is equal to. So leave the 0 there. Question 10, even problem. You guys can figure it out on your own. I'm sure you can. Just try your best. And then make sure you get everything in Canvas, take a picture of your work and submit that as well. The way you show your work is just as important as the answer that you get. That is your notes for section 1.2.